Mr. Locker is going to be a few minutes late. They might get someone vacation. Someone to the vacation and then park online.
The volunteers for the invitation.
Hey, how you doing?
Let's see, now it says 1 minute too. To call the Monday, August 14th, 2023 regular Bladen County Board of Education meeting to order. I thank all of you for being here. Appreciate what you do for the school system and for our students. At this time, we'll ask Coach McCoy to lead us in our invocation, and after that, we'll do our pledge.
Let us bow. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, it's once again we find ourselves looking to the hills from which comes our help. Realizing, Lord, that all of our help comes from thee. And we would be remiss this evening, Lord, if we didn't acknowledge just how good you've been to each and every one of us. The Lord, as we embark on this meeting tonight, we pray that you give us the wisdom and the ability to do what you will have us to do. And Lord, we will forever give you your name to praise. This is our prayer. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion that we approve tonight's agenda.
Chair, I move that we approve the tonight's agenda. Second.
And moved and properly seconded that we approve the agenda for tonight. Is there any discussion? There is none. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
There's no opposition, motion carries, so tonight's agenda approved. Move on to number 5, approval of consent agenda. Entertain a motion for that.
Make a motion, wait. Make a motion.
And moved and properly seconded that we approve tonight's consent agenda. Any discussion?
Yes, I want to speak some on the fee for the use of the facilities. Now, was that drawn up by state guidelines or local school boards?
It was local boards. It's actually the schedule did not change from last year to this year. We just had to reaffirm the schedule each year. That's based off was looking at custodial service and all. It's based off of that kind of thing. So that's how those fee schedules were determined. But it's exact for what we had last year. There's been no changing.
Yeah, that's all.
I got a question.
Discussion.
On the deposit for the fee, if I'm reading it correctly, you have 3 days before they can cancel? Is that correct?
I think that's right. Let me pull it up and see.
If I'm reading it correctly, it's 3 days, and after that 3 days, they have to pay.
That's correct. At least 72 hours fee and deposit due prior to use.
But it reads, if cancel less than 72 hours.
Right.
That says if you cancel in 48 hours, you have to pay.
The deposit is non-refundable if canceled less than 72 hours prior to the date of use.
All right. They have 3 days to decide, or they don't have to.
If it's less than 3 days prior to and they cancel the deposit, it's non-refundable. The 3 days prior to the start of the use of the facility. If it's less than that, then it's non-refundable deposit.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
More discussion? There's none, all those in favor of the motion, they've been known by saying aye. All opposed likewise. There is no opposition, motion carries to approve the consent agenda. And this time we'll move on to number 6, citizen participation. Dr. Atkinson.
Chairman and board members, we do have one, Mr. Lewis Burns. According to board policy 2310, the first part of at least one regularly scheduled board meeting will be set aside for citizens to address the board through public comment. Each speaker will receive 3 minutes to present comments. However, the public comment session will not exceed 30 minutes total, except by majority vote of the board. During the public comment period, the board chair will recognize speakers in the order in which they sent in. Subsequent speakers will not be permitted, and speakers may not donate any portion of their time to those speakers. Board members will not respond to individuals who address the board except to request clarification of points made. And tonight we do have Mr. Burns.
Good evening. My name is Travis Burns. I'm the president of the Plainview Alumni Association. First, I'd like to thank you all for all the hard work you put forth to bring a new school to the students in Tar Heel. We're here tonight to express our want and need for the Plainview School to use it as a community building in our community. We plan to use the building to build relationships and establish relationships with BCC, Bladen County Health Department, the Bladen County Recreation Department, that brings things to our area that we don't have. We'd like to, along with BCC, offer classes for people who may not be able to get down to these good at the time, as well as bring help things. There's a lot of elderly people in our neighborhood that may not be able to travel as far as Bladen to down to Wichita, and we'd like to bring some to that area so they can go not as far from home. We'd like to have a track. As you all know, the only track in Bladen County is here in Wichita. A lot of people like to work out, get a walk in before they go home at night. So these are just some of the things that we like to bring today through our area. As well as along with the track.
Library.
The library, yes. We also like to use the library that was there to push things and come and use and just to have a nice area of function that we can have in our county, in our area. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Burns. Sir. Dr. Atkinson, there's a process that we have to go through to do that. Could you?
Yes, that is correct. And I could yield to Mr. Grady as it relates to legal processes. I know the first step in that would be the board would have to declare the building no longer for school use. And then first part of statute does require that the building is offered first to the county commissioners. And then goes through the process, but I can yield to Mr. Grady if I missed something on that, or if you want me to expand on it.
Well, and just, I mean, even if the county refuses, then generally the school is required to receive adequate consideration for the property unless there is a statute or passed by the legislature authorizing the transfer specifically. We've had legislators introduce that legislation before. I think we did it on Blaker, I believe, it's on the road. But I think the first thing is go to the county, the board declares no longer necessary for school purposes and offer it to the county commissioners. And if they refuse it, then we'll cross the next step.
All right, we'll start that process and see which direction it goes. Thank y'all for that. Okay, number 7. Information items, Tar Heel School construction project update. Mike Burris.
Good evening.
How you
Glad to
doing,
see
Mr.
you all
Bird?
again and be back here in Elizabethtown. Present to you tonight the August monthly report for the Tar Heel School project. Picture you see on the screen right now is the new front doors to the school. The wood will be replaced with glass eventually, but that's our new front door. You'll scroll on down to the financial page. You can see financial update of the project and its progression. The project is moving along very well. I understand several of y'all took tours of the facility over the summer, and I'm glad that we had that opportunity. As it starts buttoning up and finishing the projects, we're about 70% done with the school. We've completed the curb and gutter along the outside of the roadways and the parking lot areas. We are dropping ceiling tiles in. The IT and security systems are being wired and put into place. Casework is in place, and progression seems to be moving along very well. Also included here listed allowances and usage of the allowances that we've had so far to date. Still running very positive on that and positive overall in the funding balance for the school. The contractor's on track with his construction schedule and ahead of it, as a matter of fact. You can see by our cash flow. And then I'm giving you a list of the allowances and adjustment change orders that we've made that have been included in those allowances that we have within the project. We are looking right now at the design of a storage building for the campus. The old storage buildings were demolished with the construction of the new school. And there's a concession stand building that's in between the ball fields that's in bad shape. We're doing a preliminary design with it, and we hope to share that with you at the next board meeting or two. The status of that design and whether approval will move forward in construction. Given also you a list of the change orders with the architectural firm completed. We don't have any outstanding requests for information or submittals at this time. We don't have any outstanding issues regarding any concerns from the construction company at this time. Fire tank and all that's being constructed with. It's due to arrive at the end of this month. It's not being constructed. The pad's already there. And so far, we don't have any weather delays. We'll hope to see what tonight brings us on the side. Continue your progress of the individual items over the past 30 days and those projected for the next 30 days on the job. We completed the demolition of the 5th grade building that was there. We'll move forward with as soon as we start the transition into the new building. Christmas time, we'll start the demolition of the existing building and the rework of the parking lots in the front of that. Also included are some photographs of the job. If you have any questions, glad to entertain them this time.
Anybody, any questions, comments?
Everything look good.
Again, thank you very much, and we appreciate your support in the project.
Thank you, Mr. Burris. Appreciate that update. We'll move on to number 8, action items. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion that we step the resolution to offer the Booker T. Washington property to Bladen County.
Before we do that, I have a question. We may have already answered that question though, but will the community of Clarkton, Booker T. Washington community be able to use the facility?
It's still under our purview as of now. If the county does decide to purchase that property, and obviously the county could do what they want to with that.
So what you said earlier is that after the county purchase, then we will have to go before the county to see if we can use it in the Clarkton community.
Correct. If the county decides to move forward. If not, we retain ownership until we go to the next step of that, which might be that fair market value, or if there's if the group is seeking maybe the legislation possibility, same kind of thing that would potentially impact maybe even Plainview.
So I want the board to realize, to know that the community definitely want to use the facility if possible.
Right. Yeah. And just for clarification on the resolution, this is coming back to you all. The board did vote on June 12th to move forward with this. We'll just get you all to approve the resolution.
Right.
That will be presented to the county tomorrow.
Now, what will be the procedure for the community Would it have to go before the Board of Commissioners?
If the Board of Commissioners decides to acquire the property, then obviously then at that point, could request, use at that point. But at this point, it's still it's one of our facilities, so, right now, we still retain the control of that building.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Can we ever get a motion to adopt the resolution?
I move that we adopt the resolution to offer BTW property to the county of Bladen.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not all those in favor, let me know by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. No opposition, motion carries. And at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion that we go into closed session for the purpose of discussing personnel as per NCGS 143.3. To consult with an attorney if needed as per NCGS 143.3. And to discuss student reassignment and student discipline as per the 1974 Family Rights and Privacy Act.
I move that we go in closed session.
Second.
Probably seconded, any discussion? There is none. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Opposed, aye. Opposition, motion carries. So we'll go into open session. Hopefully we'll be back shortly. Hey, entertain a motion that we come out of closed session.
Move that we come out of closed session.
Then moving proper second that we come out of closed session. Any discussion? All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. All opposed likewise. If none, motion carries. We are now back in open session.
Thank you, Chairman Benton Bowman. At this time, I recommend you approve personnel action items as amended.
Entertain a motion to that effect.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moving proper second that we accept the personnel action item list as amended. Moving proper second, is there any discussion? There's none, let me know. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. All opposed, aye. If none, motion carries. Personnel action item as amended has been approved. Number 11, matters of interest to board members. If I got anything. Here's report number 12, then we'll move on. I don't have anything. We'll turn it over to you, Dr. Atkinson. 13.
Thank you, Chairman. There's just a few things to share. We are still without a state budget. Right now, they're saying September potentially. What we're told is that they have accounted for, they say, significant increases for school personnel as far as raises. When initial discussion started, there was some difference between the House and the Senate. They are negotiating, but they have not released that. So right now we're basically still on our continuation budget for the state. Employees can get their step increase right now until this budget's approved. So at some point when that's ever done, we'll be able to have the retro pay employees back July 1, their step increase and any legislative increases that would come from that. So we have no idea what the percentages are right now, but we do know that they were looking at all school personnel at doing some raises there, actually for this year and next year, because it is biennium budget. Some other things are a few bills that have been vetoed that they're looking at bringing back. Obviously it could have impacts to school systems. Some of those include the charter school omnibus bill, parents' bill of rights, and some others that are there. So I think right now, last thing I read, unless that's changed, they were looking at maybe potentially scheduling some of those hearings for the vetoes this week, but that may have changed. But I haven't seen anything today that was otherwise. You all know that the School Board Association is sending you all emails kind of weekly of some updates that's going on with legislation. So definitely make sure that we'll stay abreast on that. There are a couple that have some impacts not only on the financial side. One of them is actually looking at considering is giving charter schools the ability to receive capital funding from counties. And that doesn't mean the county has to give it to them, but that is something that's part of that legislation, one of those bills that they're looking at. The other deals with some items as it relates to practices and transparency, curriculum, that kind of thing. And of course, some others issues that they're looking at. So kind of some things kind of in the mix now. We'll see what happens. I think a couple of them are not sure if a couple of those are kind of waiting, I guess, to get folks back in town, determine if they're going to override a veto or not. But we'll just kind of stay a watch on the pending legislation that's going. And obviously we know the one thing I did share about the budget, and I failed to mention that if they cannot agree on the budget as a whole, they may do some small bills, which they might get and take care of some of the salary things. Because part of that too is also the retirement rate for employees. So school systems have to pay more money for retirement rate, as well as the health insurance. All that stuff's tied in with the budget. So we're really on hold right now. And if there's to be any major increases on the benefits side, that definitely could impact us. So we're kind of monitoring that. Tomorrow is our first day for students at the early college. So that's very exciting. Ms. Cheshire and her team there. So look forward to welcoming our first group of students back. And then on the 28th, we'll have the traditional calendar of students that will come. Next Monday is our convocation at 9 o'clock at Bladen Community College, our official kickoff for the school year. Our staff required work days begin there. So we're looking forward to a great day and kickoff there. We've done some work on trying to align rules, expectations, and procedures. So this year we took, traditionally we have a code of conduct and we send home 50,000 different forms. And so we have developed parent-student handbooks that have all that pertinent information in one place for parents that hadn't got to go 50,000 places. We work quite a bit with our principals. Not only you've already approved the code of conduct, that's in there, but developing common classroom rules and expectations out in the building. So in the cafeteria, we do this and posting that throughout the school so that we have that common language, not just in building A, but every school has that. So we've done that at the elementary level, the middle level, and the high school level as well. And I think it's going to be great. We have some new tools and resources that we're going to put into place to help us. One of those is that often teachers have, and we've had 13 schools, maybe 13 different ways of how to do lesson plans and ways to have that. And then obviously when there's emergencies, lesson plans being in place for teachers. So we have a new product that we're going to be using with teachers called PlanBook. And this will be a great resource. It'll be digital so that if a teacher has to be out for an emergency, those lesson plans are already there. So the administrator can get those. It will also help us, especially with new teachers. And as teachers work in their teams, they can work to develop team lesson plans. So it's not so much burden on one. They can share those across the school and across the district. So that'll be a good resource for them. And then we'll have everything's in the same format and we can plug in resources such as our pacing guides and things. We can link that for teachers in there so they can use those guides and not have to search 50,000 different places, try to find resource. Everything will be a one-stop shop for them. Also, we have purchased Educator's Handbook. This will help us streamline our discipline process. Teachers can enter the referrals. It'll be online. It will work with our Power School system. It will allow us to make sure that the first contact, if it's a minor issue, is there's a parent communication home first before anything takes place. So the administrator we can monitor that. It will let us also look at trends. Are we having 15 referrals in this one classroom? If so, what's going on here? Is it a classroom management issue? Is it a behavior issue? Is it a group or individual? If there's always a fight every Wednesday that happens in a certain place. That's just a bad example problem. Then that will help us pull those statistics on that to kind of monitor where those are. So we need to increase our adult presence even more in some of these areas. So it really gives us some ideas of where these behaviors are taking. It will also streamline to ensure that every school is sending out the same discipline referral. Everyone is sending out the same letters especially when we have a long-term suspension, so that all that information is exactly the same, that the legislation is there, everything, so everyone will be using the same thing. So that way it will help us, and it'll help us generate reports for the board, as well as helping us look at where our needs are. So definitely a big thing there. As far as parent communication, folks have used so many different tools in the past. As a part of our new website and our app feature, we have something called Blackboard Reach. And this will allow us to make sure that communications are going out and that they're in the same, we're using one system so that if a parent's got 3 children in 3 different schools, they're not using 3 different systems. They're all in the same system. They can choose to get all their messages in one feed for that day, or they can get them individually, but it's a one-stop shop for the parents. So they're not having to use 3 different tools. So we're trying to align our tools so that we're using the same thing. Because I know as a parent, even for me now, my youngest in school age, but I can only imagine if I had one at one level, one at another, and I'm having to use different tools, it get kind of confusing. So we're trying to fix it to where it's really a one-stop place for parents to get information through the app, with the communications, be able to access grades. We put some expectations in place for staff about when grades should be put in. So we were covering that in our convocation as well, and in their beginning of the year meetings. Another tool that we have, this is actually provided by the state, is called Rave. It is a panic button that can be on staff members' phones. So if there is an emergency in a building, they can press that button. It automatically alerts law enforcement. We have geofencing for our campuses. So it will say, if I'm a teacher in classroom 32 if I hit my button about an emergency in my room, it will say classroom 32 is where the issue is at. It will can also be used for staff messaging if for example, the principal will send out something. Teachers also has a feature where if there's a discipline incident that breaks out, they can notify administrator also by that button. But it's been provided by the state to the school system. It's a part of a public safety initiative that's taking place. Basically the registration, students won't have it, so there can't be any false alarms on student. It will be for staff. Also, if there was to be an active shooter, for example, or a bomb threat, it sends out an alert so the staff member can say, we're accounted for and we're safe. So it keeps a tally of that. Also, a part of that is that we've instituted a new visitor management system, so we can give an account for everyone that's in every building at every time. We're all requiring all staff to wear their picture IDs. You all remember we had ended up being a hoax, thankfully, but we had a situation at East Blade not long ago that escalated to one of those active situations. We didn't know at the time that threat was not true, but you treat every call as if it is the real thing. One of the things we took away from that was that staff have got to be clearly identified. We had, we had a staff member that was actually detained, but you've got law enforcement agencies coming from all over. They're not going to know. It may not be a Bladen County Sheriff's deputy that goes on that hallway at the time. It may be a highway patrolman. It may be game board. It could be anybody that's coming to respond to that. So we want staff to be clearly identified. Part of that as well is for visitors when they come in, they'll check in the office. We're all requiring an ID. The system that we have it at every school, and we've also instituted it here. It will check the sex offender registry when a person comes to our campuses. Also, if we have someone that has been banned from a campus, all that information can be loaded there as well. But it will keep track of visitors for us. So if there is an emergency, and we've had 3 visitors check in, it might be a parent may be coming to visit a classroom. It may be, one of the insurance vendors is coming to meet with staff. We've got an account, so if an emergency happens, we know who's supposed to be accounted for in that building. And so, that will also help us in that. If there was an emergency, we can count for that. But obviously, it's another step in the direction of ensuring safety for our staff and students. And so, that's definitely key. It's an instantaneous, it's not like we got to wait. Sometimes I think you have to submit things off, but this system checks like as soon as that license is scanned or the information is put in, if a person has something that maybe wouldn't scan. As soon as it's entered in, it will search that registry and it will pop up if there's a concern there. So we're definitely excited about that. And all those protocols for visits to schools and checking in, even as superintendent, when I go to a school, I'm going to check in the office. That way that gives an account that, that I'm present on campus. When, maintenance goes to work or technology, whatever, they have to check in at the main office because you never know when an emergency is going to happen. So we want everyone accounted for that's on a campus. And it's not that we're just tracking people. It's that if we have an emergency, we know that's where it is. We'll also do our student sign in and sign outs through that same system. That way we keep an account. So that also will help with confidentiality because when you think about FERPA with a sign out book that's laid on a desk, you may say, parent name, student name, reason for leaving. Well, they might say doctor. Well, that's actually a medical thing that need to be out in the open. So when the person goes to the system, that's put in, it's private just to the system. And whenever, a data manager pulls that to put it in, they can see they were excused for a medical appointment. So that child is properly accounted for. So some other things that, obviously the new science standards have been adopted by DPI. Those will go into effect next school year. So we also got to look at something from the curriculum side as it relates to supporting our new science standards. You all approved ELA for K-12 last year, as well as math K-8. So we're also going to be looking at math 9-12. And we've also determined there's a need also for our social studies curriculum. So we'll be taking some time to see what's out there. Like we didn't obviously bring our subject matter experts, which are our teachers, to the table to kind of vet some of those resources, get our curriculum committee involved as well, and kind of progress to that. We'll take our time. There's no rush to do that at this point. We want to make sure we have a resource that is aligned and is addressing the standards, and that we're, doing that, providing that resource for our folks. Just a follow-up on our tracks. We have not received all the information from the vendors. We'd asked for reference to this, pictures, revised pricing. And talking with Mr. Gradia, came across this due to the potential cost of the project. We have board policy 9120 that says any construction or repair work with an estimated expenditure of 500,000 or more must be advertised for a formal bid. So, you know, although we have got some informal information, and we still haven't received all that because you all asked me to approach the county commissioners. Obviously, I need that information to share with you all as well as to take that. But now seeing that, to clarify our policy, since this does fall under that, we would need to submit a formal bid package, and we'll put those options out there that you all have discussed. The two high schools is one, as well as the town middle school. We'll put that as a formal bid and get information. I think it's best that we need the financial part of it and do it the right way and of course responsible, but need the financial information to adequately present that if we're going to go to the county commissioners and ask for financial support. So we need to know what that number will be. I know there was a lot of options and things, so we want to be able to put that bid package and we can do that and maybe get it out at the end of this week. Let's out for 30 days. But be specific. This is what we want. That's part of our track packages. So this is the option so that everyone is pricing and bidding on the same exact thing. And then I've already talked with the county manager, told him the board's desire for me to approach the county once we have this information. So I've made them aware that I do want to come, but we will put this bid package together and get it out before the end of the week. I will share that with you all as well so you can see it. That way we can make sure we've covered everything that we want in what those tracks should be. So we'll take care of that. And once we have that bid, you'll see those results. We'll have the two options there. And then at that point, I think we can approach the county with numbers to say this is what it would cost for option A, option B, whatever. We'd like to ask for your support. I want to kind of give you an update on where we are with that. So I will share you a copy of that bid package that will go out, and it had to be published online as well as in our local newspaper. And then I think there's also, I'll talk to Mr. Burge, there's also a state system that's often used. We can place it on there as well. So we can make sure it's communicated out. And so we can the preliminary information that we had was kind of spread out, depending on what it is. So we really need to hone in and this is what we want. And this is what we need the amounts to be, or what you're going to tell us the amount. And you want it to be a turnkey project from start to finish, whatever option that the board decides to go with, or, we move forward asking. So, being able to say, I go to the county that we've solicited the bids. This is what we're looking at for option A, option B. This is the cost. And we're asking on behalf of the board, would you be willing to support us in this endeavor? So I will share that with you all. Our goal is by the end of the week to get that bid package out. So I want to give you all an update on that. The September board meeting will be a week later because our administrators will be, it's already on our regular scheduled calendar, but it will be on September the 18th versus the 11th. It's already been published in our week when you voted on the schedule, but just want to remind you, we'll be back 1 week further than what we usually are because administrators will be at the school law conference. Also, one other thing here, as you all know, as a part of the board's capital needs request, obviously Tar Heel School was number one. The second part of that was multi-purpose buildings / classrooms at Bladeboro Primary School and Elizabethtown Primary School. And Elizabethtown Primary would also include the cafeteria. We have, and I shared this with you all, we have stopped any transfers to Elizabethtown and Bladeboro unless the student lives in that area because they are at max capacity. So I was having some conversation. We had someone to talk with us last week. I'm going to follow up with Attorney Malone, who helped us with the Tar Heel construction project. There is some possible grant options available. I don't know the exact amounts, but that may help us with this. And just for a reminder, with the payment for Tar Heel, the county had committed to $7 million. Well, the $7 million is actually coming out of the high school debt retirement, so it would be money in the school system anyway. So it was not necessarily new money. It was money that the debt retirement was about $920,000 on East and West Bladen that retired last year. So I think the payment on Tar Heel was about $580,000, give or take. Don't quote me on that. I can get you an exact figure. So that will leave a balance in there that will be available. So I'm not sure. We're going to investigate. I'll talk with him this week what our options are as far as possible grants. As you know, originally the Tar Heel had a 5% match. Then they ended up taking that away, but the county still approved the 7%. Obviously, with a construction project, we'd have to have the county support on that. So I will talk with Attorney Malone to see what I think he's helped another district with something recently. And there's also some consideration of changing, when we did Tar Heel, the thresholds were 30 and 40,000. I think the state, the plan is in this budget to increase those to 40 and 50. There's also some potential money in what's called, they call it R&R. I had not heard of it, but I'm gonna look into that to see if that might be a possibility, because you're actually maybe renovating some spaces here, like Elizabethtown Primary, for example, their old cafeteria, if a new one's built, that could be converted to classrooms as a possibility. But we'll look into this. I'll share out with you all at our next meeting or anything I get in the interim. Because if it was like the last application we filled out for Tar Heel, it will require board approval. And then also we have to determine which kind of construction method if we move forward. Tar Heel is built on CM at risk. So this should also use what's called design build. So we had to kind of look at which options would be. Of course, you have to put out an RFP for bidding for design and all that. But that may be something we can take care of as early as our next meeting, at least to kind of know what we're working with, just like we're going to be soliciting the bids here on the other, to get actual firm numbers on what that would be. There are 2 or 3 firms that work a lot with school systems in terms of architecture. SFLA did the Tar Heel project. So, there are options for the board to consider if you put out an RFP for design of what that would be. Obviously, kind of looking at the need, they're also the only 2 primary schools now that don't have 5th grade back. I know there's a desire, I think, for 5th grade to go back to those buildings. So additional classroom space would not only help with the numbers, but also to allow that 5th grade to be back developmentally appropriate for them to be at the primary level. But obviously those 2 are not at this time because there's not space for them. But I'll keep you updated on that. And hope by next month we can have a little more concrete details, because I'm all about filling out a grant application. If there's money that we can potentially get, I think we should definitely take advantage of it. With us being a tier 1 county, that's really what helped us get the max on the Tar Heel project. So, I think we can try to seek out what's available. And my understanding is that's through the lottery as well. Much like the Tar Heel project was considered needs-based capital. At that window, I think we'll come back over for that one. There's also one called public school capital, I think was the other thing they're looking at. But we'll get on top of that, see if that what our options would be for that. And Chairman Benton and board members, that's all I have for you this evening.
Jason, on the tracks, you say you're gonna send these bids out next week. The last meeting we had, the 2 companies come in and tell us what they could offer us. We haven't decided as to what we want in those bids. So before you send it out, I think we need to do that.
Yeah, what I could draft is
That way they know what they're bidding on.
yeah. Well, what we could do is I could draft the bid documents. Y'all can approve the bid documents at the next meeting and put them out that way.
That way we make sure we got everything that we want in the package. Before we send that bid out, and so those companies can bid on their pro stuff, and then we don't have to go through having a lot of change orders being done to add money to fix stuff that we now see that we need.
Well, to go and make it, you want it to be turnkey so that everything's included in that. So if that's what I can bring the actual bid package to next month's meeting, y'all approve what we're asking for, then put it out. Because even those companies, when it came last time, they were going to be the spring of before they could ever do anything as far as construction. And so,
You look at it.
yeah, I'll work with Mr. Lennon, and we'll draft to the next meeting you all to approve or any changes to the bid document, then we'll release the bid at that point. Great.
That'd be great.
All right, so we can do that. All right.
Anybody? No, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn. Moved. Those in proper saying that we adjourn, all those in favor, let me know by saying aye.